I'm going to go into the DevExpress menu and choose New Plugin. By the way, I had this question that came up once. What's the difference between standard and tool window? Why do you never explain that? And it's true in most of the plugins. I just come in and I say standard plugin, keep going. A tool window creates a docking window like the error list that you see down here at the bottom, or the properties grid, or the toolbox, or the class view, the solution explorer. Tool window plugin creates something like that. Since we rarely are creating those, we did one a long time ago. We're just doing standard plugins all the time. I never touch that button. Also, my preferred language is C#, so I always go there. Sometime in the future, Rory will do one for you in Visual Basic. I command you, Rory, to do that.
We can do that. It should also be noted, though, that the tool window plugin, you don't have to choose it here up front. You can add that after the fact, and this is just to help you with a kickstart, really. Nothing you do here in terms of that will be set in stone. You don't have to.
Sync namespaces to folder is what I think I'm calling this.
Okay, so can we get a quick overview of the general idea of what we're going to achieve here?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's create let me open up a new version of Visual Studio. And you'll see over here in the background I have this project called Folder Namespace Sync Test. This is where I created a project that's got a lot of the problems that we need to solve.
Okay.
The simplest example here is in cars. I have a class called Automobile Factory in cars, and I have a class called Ferrari, also in the namespace cars. However, Ferrari is located in a folder called Sports. What I really want is to rename this namespace from cars to sports.car. I'm sorry, to cars.sports.
Okay, so over some period of time, because I know C# tends to do that over, when you first create a class, but if you've moved your classes from folder to folder, you can get out of sync. You can have a namespace that doesn't reflect the folder it's in. I know people like to keep that tidy where they can.
There you go. And so what this plugin is going to do, by the time we're done, probably not today, but by and I think I'm going to do this tomorrow, Roy. Are you available tomorrow, Thursday, for this?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And I apologize to anybody listening to recorded version. In the future, who cares? You don't care whether Roy's available tomorrow or not. You're going to get that video at some point. So anyway, that's what we want to do, and then we have to find all the references in here and rename them. Is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Now,
so we're not just going to change the namespace. We're going to go and find every place that this Ferrari is used, and we're going to make sure that it all still works.
Or we can actually find every place the namespace is used as well.
Okay,
But and that's actually the approach I did when I was practicing this. But it runs into problems because as we come over here into our consumer class, I have a cars.automobilefactory and a cars.ferrari. And in this case, I want to rename this one, but not this one.
Gotcha, yeah. So you don't want to take on the entire namespace, just the namespace where it applies to the classes you're starting from.
Absolutely.
So where are we going to trigger this from? Is this going to be triggered from inside the code, shall we say, in the Ferrari
I was going to trigger it from right here.
Okay, yeah.
When the caret's in the namespace, that's what I was thinking about. I mean, we can change this. Triggering is pretty easy to change. This is also, I was going to have this not only fix this namespace, but any others in this project. So I was just going to have it just be this global kind of thing. I was going to put it in the refactoring menu, though.
Yeah.
Because if we do this right, we're not changing any behavior of the code.
Okay.
But one other gotcha, though. So qualified construction here, you can see in this class, we've got actual qualified construction. Over here in unqualified construction, I have simply using cars, and I've got both there, which means what I'll have to do, I can't rename this. I'll have to identify that I need it and change it to cars.sport, add one here. That's what I'm going to have to do. It's crazy, kids. This is like probably one of the most complex things that I think we're ever going to build.
So it's been rumored that there's a plugin out there that does this already, but I'm reasonably sure that it is not a refactoring. It is a code provider, and all it does is to change the namespace in the file around the class. It doesn't fix up anything.
Yeah. Well, we can get that far easily, and maybe we'll start with that. Let's do that part where we just change the namespaces, and then we have to manually update the references. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll get you that far. Okay?
Sure.
So let's go over to, so this is the test one. I'm going to close this instance down because the next time we test we'll be running. So come back over here, sync namespaces to folder. That's our plugin.
Okay.
I always click OK here. These are some really advanced options. We rarely need these on this side right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's bring up our toolbox, grab a refactoring provider, and drop it on the design surface.
Okay, so for those who are watching this for the first time, just a quick overview whilst you do this. There's various components and controls that you can drop on top of the design surface for the plugin, which effectively you only have to set a few properties and handle a few events, and you are good to go on that particular type of plugin. Plugin can actually have multiple functions, so you can drop multiple items on at a time. In this case, we're going to use a refactoring provider, and we're going to handle presumably a check availability and an apply. So it's very similar to people who have written things like Windows Forms menuing systems. They check whether they are available based on circumstance and disable themselves accordingly. And then when you do manage to activate them, they call their own execution method, in this case the apply. So there's a few other things that need settings, such as description and display name, just to make things nice and sensible to read through. But in essence, that's what it does.
Beautiful, Rory. Beautiful. Yes. You're so awesome, seriously. Like
yeah.
you can run that right. That just rolls right off your tongue. Whereas I'd be like,
I blame my Irish heritage.
Expending huge amounts
Talk
of brain
forever.
All right,
it took me a while to learn all this in the first place.
Okay.
It doesn't come easy.
Synchronizes all namespaces declared in the active project to the folder name and the default project namespace. So those two are combined right there. We're going to combine those together. That's what the description is of this. Synchronize the folder names. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to come up here, paste it here to give myself a good, meaningful name here. The action hint text I'll call this synchronize. This text is displayed if there's only one refactoring available and you hit the key. So it'll just say synchronize. Let me synchronize the folder names. You want to keep this short because it appears in that arrow, and the longer you make this, the longer that arrow is.
Sure, yeah.
Synchronize the folder names like that. So my availability check on this is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be something to the effect of, hey, are we inside of a namespace reference? So it's going to go something like this: ea.element as a namespace. And just so you can see what a namespace is here, let's look at this code that we're in right now in the expressions lab. So put the caret here on namespace, and you can see the class name is right here. Show me what it is.
Sure.
There it is. It's called namespace all by itself. That's a namespace. Okay. And that's how that's declared. Up here, right, this is a namespace reference. So there you can see right there. It's a namespace reference. Where's the class name? There's the class name right there, namespace reference. So that's a class name. That's a namespace reference. Inside the namespace reference is an element reference expression, which is a reference to that namespace. And it's just kind of built out here in pieces that you can see.
Yep.
Oh, another problem, Rory.
Go on.
Well, check this out. This, we can do something like this. What is it, NS for namespace?
We can.
Embedded namespace, right? As you can see, something like this is probably happening here, right? So I could use cr this dot embedded namespace somewhere. I could have a statement somewhere else that goes like this dot that, okay?
Yeah.
Well, what's the impact? The impact is well, we probably are going to ignore these for now, I suppose. However, if I'm at a point where I'm like, somewhere along these lines, like let's say I'm like, dot here inside this namespace, like that, okay, I'm in here, right, and I say, okay, well, let's rename this because it's in the wrong folder, and I find that name, and I say, let's go find all the references, I'll find them here, but let's say I also want to rename this one because this is wrong for whatever reason, because I'm in the parent folder, this is wrong. So I go and I find those. That means I'm going to find a reference here to rename, and I'll find a reference here to rename, right?
Okay. So what you're saying is this is pretty complicated.
I'll set up two different changes in the same code file, and we should see junk there if this happens. Okay, does that make sense? So Yeah, there's a lot of levels of gotchas on this one.
This is not your message box plugin.
I thought this was 45 minutes when I first saw the suggestion, and as I started, thinking about it, I started realizing we're in trouble. So as namespace, that means when I talk about, I'm expecting to be here, right, somewhere in this location right here. So I'm going to say, go in here. I can't call this namespace like that because that's a keyword, so I'm going to call it like this namespace.
Okay.
That. And then if we're null, we're going to get out. We're going to set ea.available.
That's interesting. Do you guys in C# not have any escaping for that kind of thing?
Oh, you're right, we do.
I'm just curious.
Escaping.
I don't know what.
I'll show you. Hold on a second. Now I just want to go into the name range. That's the range for the name. It's a real handy property. So that gives me this range, right? For a class, the name range will give me here. For a method, the name range will give me this range, right? From starting at this line in this character position and ending over here at this line in this character position right here. Okay. So if the namespace name range dot contains ea dot caret. Simple. Let me show you the escaping there so everybody's happy with that. Namespace, we put an @ symbol in front of it like that.
Okay. So in VB we have square brackets and we wrap our value in those.
Oh, cool.
It's an interesting approach.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Okay.
I don't like it, but there it is. There's the. It just. I don't like the readability of it. To me, I like saying this namespace instead.
Yeah, that's much nicer. But there you go. I learned something.
So we'll do that there. All right. Next, we need to apply refactoring. So it starts out simple, and then we get kind of crazy. Now, I want to be able to apply only on the current project. So if we have multiple solutions, I only want to work on the current project. And that's just kind of an arbitrary decision. We could change this to work on everything, but what I'm thinking about is a method that says synchronize all namespaces, probably better, and I want to pass in the project to synchronize on.
Okay.
Too. So we'll come in here. We'll say CodeRush.source.active project, like that.
Sure.
We'll declare that. And this will be the project we are going to synchronize to. Now, this is going to be complex. So because I know it's going to be complex, I'm almost thinking in advance. Let's create some classes, but maybe not. Now I've decided not to. Just now at this moment, let's just kind of run and see what we can get here. We're gonna get out of here if the project has specified as null. What's cool about this is I could iterate through all. I could come in here like this. I can say CodeRush.source.solution, active solution, and then go in here to all projects. Cut that to the clipboard. Do a for each in there, and then this is like a project element, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then come in here and down here and call this, right? I could do it. I could very easily change what I've got to this to synchronize for everything, right? So that's part of the reason why I want to have at least a method that takes me out of here and accepts a project as the parameter. The other thing is, let's look at that project. What kinds of things does it have in there for us? It has a file path, okay? So let's go ahead and let's declare a local for that. We'll call this the project file path. In fact, let's not make that local. Let's actually widen that scope and promote it out to a field because we're going to probably use that. So this is the path to the project itself, right? If we take off the project file name, then we'll get the, actually no, I took that back. If we look at a file that's in the project and we subtract the link that we basically take away this many characters from the beginning of that file name, we'll get the relative path to that file. And then we can tell if that file's in the subdirectory or not. Does that make sense, Rory?
That's good, yeah.
Okay. I like it when you say that's good. So let's go in. What else do we have? We also have, let's see, project dot default namespace. And this gets the default namespace for the project. Now, I don't know what this does in VB. Right? We were talking.
Good question, isn't it?
Didn't you say VB had something called a root namespace? Look
I
at
forget
that.
which way round it was, but yes, and they're not the same thing.
Look at that right there, buddy. So,
Hey,
so we might. I think we can fix this. We just need to ask questions about that later. So let's just do
sure.
this. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and set up a. Let's go get that root namespace. Let's go ahead and declare local for that as well. Let's we'll widen the scope of that. So we'll have that. We'll have that available. So there's our root namespace up there. Let's get our default namespace. There it is, right there. And what else? Let's get the project folder here, the file path. So let's, so this file path, we're going to need to go into path. Need to go and use system.io. Oops, wrong button. System.io. So path.get directory name, and we're going to pass in the project file path, and we're going to declare local on that, and this is going to be the project folder right here. And we're going to also widen the scope of this. Pop that up there. So now we're kind of setting some variables, for us, some field variables that we can maybe use later. The other thing I want to do too is path.getDirectoryName is not going to put the double slash at the end, and I want to put the double slash on the end of everything. So I want to add this to the end of that, like that. So I want to make sure that every folder that we're going to work with has that at the end of it.
I've always found that amazingly inconsistent in Windows because if you specify the root of any drive, you will get the / character.
I hate that. I hate that. In fact, let's do this. You know what? You're absolutely right, because it could be that it's in the root. So let's say if, I know, unlikely, ends with that. Whoops.
See, that's the code I write all over the place. It's it's hideous, and it's the OS that is making us do that.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But once done, it's not a concern anymore.
Oops. See, I don't have there's local replace all. Oh, I see, because it's making the change right there. Okay. All right, let's just do this. Like that. Oops, not what I wanted to do, sorry. Well, I'm just going to promote some parameters, what I wanted to do right there. All right, so normalize path. So looks like we need to do a toString here. That's what that must be complaining about. Okay, all right, so if path does not end with that, we're going to add it to the end of it. So we're going to say normalize path. Okay?
How do you guys do pass by ref, pass by value in C#? Because if that was VB, that would not affect it.
You're right. Got to say ref.
Okay.
Happy now?
Yep, that's good.
And say it here. There we go. Okay. So now we got. I think we're okay. I don't know.
I think that's good.
I think we're
We've got
okay.
a file path. We've got a folder, a project path, as it were. The default namespace, the root namespace, a bunch of good stuff there.
Now let's go get some mismatched namespaces for the project. And what I'm thinking about is so what we want to do now is we just want to collect these. Oops, sorry. These. Where this namespace doesn't match the expected namespace that the piece is in, that the file is in. Okay.
So any namespace block, you might say, which does not match the file and folder, sorry, that it is in.
Exactly. So what I'm going to get back from that is I want to get the actual namespace reference. I guess we could go with that. I was thinking I would also maybe get, let's just do that for now. So we want to grab the namespaces there. So we saw it when we were in the expression lab that this was called, this class name that represents this node is called a namespace. It is a, it looks like this. That's the class name right there. It's a namespace. So Yeah, so I was just wondering if we need the source file too, but we can get to the source file. I think we can get to the source file. Let me just double check that from the namespace itself. See, do we have a file node?
I believe so.
File node gets the source file. So I think I'm good with that. So we're just going to get like a new list of namespaces. I'm going to cut that to the clipboard. I'm going to come here and I'm going to say T for type, L for list, dot, slash, gives me the new list of namespace right there. And so we'll say maybe not the result, we'll call this namespaces to rename is equal to synchronize all, hold on, not there. Wrong place, sorry. There.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
Okay, and so now let's declare this method. Takes a project inside of it, and let's go figure that out. Now, one of the things we need to do is we need to have a method that returns a string that essentially looks like this: get expected namespace. And that's going to, I think, take in a namespace, the existing one. And I have to do this something different here about that to make that work right there. And so we will so get expected namespace will be there, and we'll deal with that, and that'll return string. We'll write that in a bit. Down here, what we want to do is we want to start going through all the files in the project. So project.file, all files. There it is right there. And that's going to be a source file. And then we want to go into the file.all namespaces. Okay, got that one right. We'll give this a different name though. Oops.
So a quick question, project.all files versus the concept of source file. What about things like text files that are resources, resx files, and various things that are not C#? How are we going to exclude those, or are they already excluded?
I think you're going to get them here, but I'm pretty sure all namespaces is going to come back with nothing.
Okay, fair enough. So it'll just be because we've already got metadata that says that there isn't any namespace in these particular files.
Right.
That's cool.
Because all namespaces is a property of every source file that's out there. So, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be a problem is the answer to that question.
That's good.
Now what we want to do is we want to see, and I didn't show you this, but let's look at this. We'll see this here. So CR sync names to folder. Let's go look up in the expressions lab. Go put the move the character there. Come on, expressions labs. Come on, sync up with me. There's the namespace, and looking for the property called name. What are you, miscellaneous? I guess I will sort A to Z to find you. There it is, right there. The name of this is the actual text in the name range.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case that was not going to be clear. So what I want to do is I want to check to see, where am I? There I am. If namespace, whoops, that's not it. Namespace dot, I'm getting nothing here. No IntelliSense here. There it is. Okay, namespace dot name is not equal to get expected namespace. Ooh. I guess that's okay.
I've got to say, that function looks a bit weird. Would we not be better off passing the file that it's in? Because you've got a function called getExpectedNamespace that takes a namespace. It's kind of self-referential.
Let's pass in the file instead. Let's kill this.
Cool.
I'm happy with that. All right. GetExpectedNamespace, and boom, from the file. Yeah, I agree. You're totally right. In fact, holy cow, what we need is we need to do an interview. We need to do this before, and widen scope. We need to do it here. Whoops. Sorry. I need this here.
Yeah, because you don't need to calculate it more than once for that.
Exactly. I only need to calculate it once for each file, and then make sure that all the namespaces that are in that file, because I guess there could be more than one, match, right? And then we're okay. So all right. So get expected namespace of file. If that's not the case, then what I want to do is we need a new result instance in here. So it's like RI gives us this result equals new It's just a template, and
So I hadn't seen that particular template until maybe 2-3 weeks ago when you used it in another webinar. It's a fantastic little thing, RI, which basically gives you an instance of the type which this function returns, initializes it, and then gives you a return statement as well. So it's almost, we almost want to make a selection embedding out of that.
yeah, I think so. Or at the very least, you know how we wrote a while back the go-to text command that allowed you to move to different locations? What would be nice here is if it put result down at the end automatically, regardless of where you are. That would be
that'd
nice.
be cool.
Also, I like the idea of having it initialize as well, with some intelligent initialization. But okay, so we are, let's see, where are we at here? We are at, if it's not equal to it, then we need to come in and say result.add, and then add in the namespace.
Excellent. So we've just gone through all the files which have namespaces, checked all the namespaces against a calculation of what they should be based on the presumed folder that they're in, which we haven't gone to the detail of just yet. And then if it fails that particular equivalency test, we put it in the list, and we ship out a list to the higher level, every namespace that needs correction, at least of this type.
Yeah. I'm just going to run. We have nothing going on in get expected namespace yet, but I want to kind of do that using some real data.
Okay.
All right, let's open up the sync test. By the way, something I noticed, just a tip, if you go in the DevExpress menu and you choose new plugin like I do just about every single time, it does not show up on the start page until you close and reopen it. Okay? In order to get something on the start page, you have to go into File, New, Project, then go to DX Core, then choose Standard Plugin, and you go from there. If you do it that way, it will still show up on the start page. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but just something I just kind of discovered. So here we have cars, the namespace. Let's hit the key. Synchronize to folder names. Here's the description. Synchronize all namespaces declared in the active project to the folder name and the default project namespace. So
that's that check availability is putting that there.
Yes. So if we choose that, I need to set a breakpoint over here in our other application here. Let's go do that. Set a breakpoint someplace interesting here. We need that watch window. Oh, we do. We have one on get expected namespace. So we will come in here. For each file, we'll come in there and make the call in there and see what we've got. All right, so now let's go in and we'll choose it. So synchronize the folder names, hit enter. Here we go. First step in. We have a file. Oh, look at this. This is going to bug the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it's up. So what we can do, if you have that situation, is you do this. Bring it up, hit enter, before the big hint comes up.
Yeah, because the big hint is there because you're hovering, or well, at least you're highlighting the entry in the refactor menu.
Yeah, and it takes
so it is a fraction of a second before it will. Yeah,
it's about 1 or 2 seconds you've got to hit enter before that pops up. So you can do that if you only have one monitor. I usually work with two, so it only gets me when I do the webinars, and it's like
I'm going to be using that tip.
All right, so get expected main namespace. So let's look at what we've got in here. We have the file has a property called name. Let's bring up the watch window and look at that. Okay, so you can see it right there. So the file name is there. Let's go and let's say that the file name we had. What did we have that awesome? Yeah, we had that awesome thing called Normalize Path. Okay, so we have to do this. We have to come in here and we have to say declare local, call this file name like that, and then we're going to say normalize path, passing in file name. Okay, like that. Oops, it's got to be ref. Okay, so let's do those 2 lines of code.
I thought normalize path was for throwing the backslash on the end, so you had to pass a folder rather than the full address of a file to it.
Oh, did I mess it up? Yeah, I messed it up. We got to take away. Hold on, we need to make a call on this. Hold on. Let's change this.
That's correct functionality. We just need to put the file's folder there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Path dot get directory name, and then pass in. Hold on. Yeah, that's
the one. That looks good.
All right, let's try this. File folder, drop it down there. Okay, good. Okay, happy? We go from there to there. Okay, so and we've normalized the path, so we've got that slash on the end of that file folder right there. Now the file folder. Well, we have to go. The next thing we have to do is we have to go. Where is that thing we have? We have that project folder, right? We have a thing called project folder. Okay.
There we go.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take.
So some string subtraction.
Yeah, I'm going to do file folder, call substring on it, and pass in the project folder dot length, like that.
Excellent.
Okay, and let's just do this. Let's put this here. Properties.
That's good.
Now, this could be several levels deep.
It could indeed, yes.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take those slashes if they exist. Directory separated character. Oops. And I want to replace them with a dot.
Yep.
Sorry. It's a char. Okay. And this whole thing is going to be the file folder namespace. And let's execute this line of code.
You need to possibly trim off the final period from that, because in our case we're going to have one of those.
I would, yes. So we're close. We've got properties, but not perfect yet. Okay.
But we can see the progression of this pretty well. It's looking good.
Yeah. The other thing that we want to do is we need to look at the project default namespace, whatever we've got here. Oh, did we not get that?
We did. I think it's just default namespace or root namespace, depending on which one.
Call it namespace.
There's no project
okay.
prefix. Yeah.
So we're going to say default namespace plus a dot plus this right here, and this whole thing is going to be the expected namespace. And then we want to do if expected namespace dot ends with the dot, we're going to say expected namespace equals dot substring 0. Wait, can I do a? I think I can do a remove call. Oops. Remove and pass in expected namespace dot length -1.
Right.
Let's run those lines of code. Go ahead.
If you want to handle it at this point, I think the difference between VB.NET and C# would be that you do not want a prefix with default namespace and a period, because that's what the compiler will do for you. It does it automatically. So you don't want to be duplicating that when you're emitting this.
Let's see what we got down here. Root namespace is null.
That's right.
Okay,
but
so
if this was a VB file, if it was, your whatever value you have, you would not be prefixing your default. Effectively, if you continue the way you were, you'd end up with a namespace which always started with a period and never had a default namespace.
This may be null in a VB project as well, the default namespace. Or does VB have a default namespace too?
It has a root namespace, and just realized we may not need to capture it, but we need to distinguish between the two cases. So essentially, if VB, then expected namespace equals file folder namespace, rather than file folder namespace with the default namespace and the period prefixing.
All right, so we've got a note here to follow up on it. So I have one of my minions take care of that for me.
Cool.
You, Rory. So,
yeah, no problem, man.
Anyway, no, thanks, Rory. Yeah, I'll probably have you look at it, or maybe we'll have a dev look at it. But yeah, we have to look at what's going on in VB and see what's going on there. I don't have any test projects in VB.
That's fair, yeah.
But we will do it. Okay, so get expected namespace. Now what do we got? Cars.properties. Wait, .properties. Did we really get into properties? Cars.
Well, the assembly info CS is in a properties folder.
Ooh,
so,
and it has its own namespace. That is something we don't want to mess with. let's, how do we stop that? I guess we look for the file name because it's a very special file name.
Well, hang on. I don't know if it's true, because if you look at the loop outside of this, it's just below in the next method down.
Yep.
We're calculating this before we've determined there are any namespaces.
Oh, you're right.
Because we were going to optimize for not having to do it multiple times.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
So,
what do we got in here? Do we have a, let's just see, do we get in anything? We don't. You're right. No namespaces. Okay,
so we get away with it.
Totally okay. Let's set another breakpoint and see what else we got. And down here, cars. And this is for what's the file name? Well, we can see it down here. Automobile factory, CS.
Okay.
Okay?
That's more like it.
Let me just get rid of all these so we just see the pieces that we're interested in here. So we can just compare the two things. Here's the file name. There's the expected namespace. Okay? Let's run it again. Look, cars.sports or /sports/Ferrari. It says expected namespace should be cars.sports.
This is good. Yeah.
And then program CS. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go over to my other test project. Should I introduce you to this one? Okay, check it out. Here's class 0 in the root of my project called Alpha 1. Its namespace is wrong. It's A1, but it should be Alpha 1 because the project, whoops, right there, the project's properties, we go into project properties, its default namespace is Alpha 1, right there.
Gotcha.
Okay? So, that one's wrong. Inside of the folder Bravo 2, I have a class 1 that says its namespace is A. Also wrong.
Yeah.
I have a class 2 whose namespace is A.B. Also wrong. It should be alpha1.bravo2. Okay. Back in class 1, I also have a using A.B2. Where the heck is that? Can I navigate it? No, you can't find it. I wonder if DevExpress reference can find it. Come on. Come on, DevExpress reference. There it is right there, class 3. Look at that. Tabnix reference just stomped all over Visual Studio 2010. Oh, Visual Studio 2010 is crying. Did you see that? Did you see that? It couldn't navigate to this reference, and Tabnix reference just found it. Okay, so there is what? In class 3, which is here, it's in the wrong namespace. It's got a B2. Things are messed up everywhere in this one.
Yeah.
Okay? In addition to that, look at this. I got one namespace here and a different namespace here, right? A.B1.C refers to this class. A.B2 refers to this one. That means if I have a file that has both of those references in it, they will both, in using imports, I mean, if both of those are imported, they will both change to alpha1.bravo2.charlie3, which means I'll have two references in the file to the same namespace.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did I mention that there were some gotchas in here? So let's try it here, though, and let's just see what those names are that we get through. Synchronize the folder names. Let's see what we get. Here we are. Assembly info, we don't care about that because there are no namespaces there. Let's go to the next one. Okay, here's the folder. Here's the project. Yep, there you go. You're seeing it, right?
That's
Bravo
good,
2, Charlie 3. It says...
Remembering that Alpha 1 was the default namespace of the project. That's why you can't see it in the file.
I'm not passing in... Oh, I'm not passing in the namespace. So down here I pass in the namespace, but here's where we can compare the names, and we can add them. In fact, here we should set a breakpoint to actually see what's in our list. Okay, and look, I didn't hit enter fast enough. But here, we just go through a few more of these. Class 1 in Bravo 2 should be alpha1.bravo2. That makes sense. Same thing here for class 2. There you go, Alpha Bravo Charlie, we're good there. Class 0 in the root should just be in the Alpha 1 namespace. Remember, it was just A or A1, something like that. So that needs to be renamed as well. Okay, return result. So we've got 5 things that we found. And so here we go. We've got them here. And all of these pieces are here. Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should do paired things here, because the get expected namespace, we'll have to calculate this again later on. I guess we'll just calculate it. It doesn't take that long, right? In human time, this is like going to be less than, a fraction of a second. This probably be like, 300 milliseconds or less in human time when we actually need it. In other words, nobody's going to notice if we call it a second time.
We can always optimize later if it becomes a problem.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to just run it, and then I'm going to shut it down because we need to write some code to actually go through and make those changes.
Okay.
Okay. So let's shut it down. I think, or maybe we could go through and do some stuff. Let's go maybe, I guess we could, let's see what we got here. So namespaces to rename gets us here. Yeah, let's go ahead. I think we can keep going. Let's go ahead and keep going. We'll try one more time. Let's go back to the Ferrari Sports one because that one is a little bit easier to view. We'll go into one of these. We'll invoke it. Synchronize the folder names, and we call that. And now let's get rid of that. Pull out. Pull out. Step out. Sorry, I'm saying pull out. Step out. And now we have namespaces renamed 1. Oh yeah, that's right, because we're in cars, and it only has the one that's wrong is the Ferrari one. So this is the namespace. Yeah. So all right. So now, you know what? This is bugging the heck out of me. I'm going to change my breakpoint to here and run, and we're going to bring this up one more time, but hit enter real quickly, and then now we're here.
Excellent. That's better.
Okay, much better. All right. So now we've got our namespaces to rename. Well, remember when we need to make changes across a whole bunch of stuff? We need, what is it called? The file change. Where is it? And I don't have the. Hold on a second. I don't have the IntelliSense feature, whatever, the autofill feature.
It's something like file source change, file source range.
Yeah, this is in this crazy place called DevExpress CodeRush core dot replacement in this namespace right here. And there it is right there, file change. We also have file change collection. We have both of those. So I guess I'll say file change collection equal, my changes equals new that file change collection. And then we want to go through each one of these namespaces. For each namespace inside of there, we want to add a new file change to this. So we're going to say new. We need all of this file change, and it needs a file path. So we're going to go to namespace.filenode.name. That's the path to the file we're going to change. The range we're going to mess with is the namespace.name range. And the new text is going to be get, hold on, what do we call it? Expected namespace. We're going to pass in the namespace.file node. That's going to be our new change. Declare local for that, file change. And then we're going to go into my changes.add file change. Then we're going to go into CodeRush.file.apply changes and pass in my changes. Like that. So now if I put the caret, here we have namespaces to rename 1. So we come up here, just run it from there, clear that breakpoint. You should see, there you go, car.sports.
Okay.
All that code for a small change there. However, let me undo that. Let's go over here and do it here. And so we'll hit the CodeRush factor key, choose synchronize folder names. Now this is alpha.bravo 2. Notice everything's broken, right? Everything's broken there. But if we go to every single class, you should see, there you go, look, Alpha Bravo Charlie. It's in the right spot. Here, let me pin this so you can see it, right? Class 3, Alpha Bravo Charlie. I put comments in this, by the way, showing what it used to be. Okay?
Yeah, that's very useful. That's good.
So if I undo this there, you can see that's what it is, right? That's what I put comments through all of this stuff so that you could see all of that. So let's do it one more time. We'll invoke it, synchronize the folder names so that you can see Alpha Bravo 2, just what you're expecting. Alpha Bravo Charlie, and this one should just be Alpha. Okay?
Sweet.
Sweet, but we got references all over the place.
Well, yeah, but you know, we haven't tried to fix those yet. You wouldn't expect that to just work, would you?
You're right. But at this point, what are we at? We are at 48 minutes in. At this point, we have essentially matched, I think, the functionality of this other plugin that we were talking about. Do you have a link for that other plugin, by the way?
Not to hand. I will see what I can find.
Okay. If you find that, let me know. And now I'm going to close down, and because I think we're going to write some code that's going to go beyond what we already have. Essentially what we need to do is we need to find a bunch of references is what we needed to find. And to do that, we need to use a reference searcher to find all of this. So I guess there are two ways to do this. And I think, actually, it seems like it's the same amount of work for both ways. So one of the ways to do this is to go inside each namespace, find each type reference inside of there, then find every reference to that type, and then take notes about how it's qualified. Is it qualified using something like what we wrote here, where the namespace appears right there, explicitly qualified, or is it qualified using something like this?
Yeah.
Okay? And we just kind of take notes on that, and based on that, then, because the thing is simply because we know how to qualify one doesn't mean we know the exact change we need to make to that source file. It could be that the file needs the old original reference to the namespace. The example, let me show you the example.
That's right, yeah.
I showed you that before, actually. It was in the Ferrari Sports one, right? Let me start the second instance of Visual Studio. And I'll show you that just to refresh your memory here, if we can bring that up real quickly. You see an icon in the questions, Roy. Do we have any questions that we need to address while we're...
Some comments as we were going along, perhaps. There's an edge case where a file in a project is not in a subfolder of the project. It's kind of linked to from elsewhere, so we get some interesting effects there.
Link to. Great
Yeah.
edge case. Let's add a to-do for that to deal with the link to. Let me find that. Let's just put a to-do.
So we can't do the standard path subtraction to work out what the folder effectively should be called.
Oh, by the way, one of our devs had a great idea. Captain Nick's reference here on to-do to take you through all
I read that. That's nice. In fact, I think one of the other devs had already done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
One of the devs on our team, you mean?
Yeah. I think later in that thread it was, oh yeah, you mean like this?
Yeah, it's not hard, is it? Okay, so yeah, I think that's coming in 11.2. I think we're going to ship that. But if anybody wants to do that, it's not hard to do it. Link to, let me just put this in quotes, the link to or linked file. Linked files.
Yeah.
Deal with those. I think what we do is skip those.
We might be able to figure out where the link has been placed rather than where the file has been placed.
Yeah, I don't remember if we have a property in here. Can you see if Alex Corkin is in the list? Is he viewing us right now? Is linked. Never mind.
The difficulty with that, there is an edge case even if you do that though. Arguably, if your file has been linked to elsewhere, then it's in use elsewhere as well. So you might find yourself fighting over what the namespace should be.
No,
so it might be better to skip it anyway. Yeah.
I want to skip the linked files. So I want to do something like this. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There's no edge case now. I think I've just gotten rid of it.
No, I think that's just been solved. That's good.
Linked files. And I want to just put a breakpoint here and actually see if we hit here, because this is a very odd XML doc comment for this. Source file is linked property is set on project load. It doesn't tell me what it means. This is a note for the devs, Rory. The is link needs better XML doc comment on it.
Yeah.
This property. Okay. So let's see if this is this to do. We maybe make sure this works. That's really what I want to make sure this works. Okay, so we get our mismatched namespaces. This bit of code right here changes all the the core namespaces that are declared, but it doesn't change the references to those. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create something called a reference searcher.
Just before we continue, Mark, we have actually had one question. It raises a very valid point. It says, what about partial classes? The worry here that two parts may not be in the same folder.
Oh, you are so
receive the same namespace.
What we can do is we can actually detect that, right? Because once you have a class, you can go see all of its partial files. And so we could add some code. I think we'd have to add it in two different places to deal with that. But we can actually set that up. That's a great question, great example. And we could just do something like this. If we detected the problem, we could put up a modal dialog that said, "You are, in big trouble for what you've done. I'm reporting you."
There are lots of ways we could deal with it. You could either just skip over those again. If they have any partials, just don't alter those for the moment. That would be safe. Okay, would stay the way they are. Or you could decide to take the primary partial, if you can determine which one that is, determine the folder it's in, and use it for all the other partials. So you could maintain a dictionary of what the namespace should be for a file, even if you haven't yet
There are a lot of gotchas in this. Holy
there
cow.
are. But it's not to say it can't be done. Perhaps just in the interest of time, we just make it to-do, and then, having addressed the point in theoretical terms, we move on.
Yeah, let's put a to-do out here for that one as well. I'm not even going to call this an edge case because I think I've actually done this before where I've actually created partial class and stuck it in a subfolder. So, decide which folder to use and be consistent.
Yeah.
For all partials. Okay? All right, so let's see, where was I? New reference searcher.
Searching for references, yeah.
Okay, so let's go local for that, and then we're going to say reference searcher dot find references, and it takes a scope and a starting declaration. And so the scope is going to be, let's see, what do we have here? We have, I'm actually going to put this up here. So we want to work with the namespace. We can get to the solution from the namespace. The solution is an iSolution element. We can typecast that. What does it need here? It just needs a language element. So we can say as a language element, or we can just come in and just say CodeRush dot source dot active solution, because there's always, at least as far as I know, always only one solution. Visual Studio does not yet allow multiple solutions to be loaded and running.
I'm sure they're thinking about it.
All right, so okay, if they're doing that, then what we want to do instead is we want to do something like this: typecast to a language element. Here we can do this instead. We can say, what was it? Namespace dot solution as language element. So that's our scope. Go to the entire solution. Yeah, this is probably better in case sometime in the future we have this ability of multiple solutions. And then the declaration that we're starting from, that we want to find all references to, is simply the namespace.
Okay.
Okay?
Can you imagine having to write code to do this by hand? Doesn't the DX core just provide you so much stuff?
There you go. And then so we've got our references, and what we might want to do is we might want to do we need to do a for each on this, but we might want to do, we want to pull this out. And we'll call this get all references or find all references. And so what that will do is we'll find all references to a particular namespace that we pass in.
Okay, so this will include in using statements, using directives, and also in the inline reference to a type where it is within the namespace.
Yes, it will. In fact, we can verify that when we look at the results coming back from that. But yes, if we, for example, if we were in, let's see, do I have the Ferrari project up? Yeah, so if we are here and we say find all references to this, it will it won't find this one. I think it won't find that one. It might. I'm not sure.
No, because that's the actual item itself, isn't it?
It's the declaration, but it's also this declaration also exists in another location too, in automobile factory. I think it'll find this. Plus, because we're going through the entire solution, it will find these two, and it will find this one.
Okay.
That's what I'm expecting. Okay. So that's step one. So let's run that. And, oops, I'm sorry, I'm like, what's going on here? And because I'm in the wrong project. All right. So, so let's see, what are we doing here? So we've got find all references, passing in the namespace. Then we're going to go through each reference. I think I'm going to just call this reference like that. And here what we want to do is we want to do the same kind of thing that we're doing above, where we're going to create a new file change. Or, by the way, let's get rid of this now that we are, let's remove that type qualifier, get rid of it everywhere there.
Oh, that's nicer.
What'd you say?
That's nicer. It's easier to read.
Nicer, isn't it? Yeah, so let's get this. We want something like this. I'm just going to paste this in here for now. And let's see. Well, we need to know what the file, what file the change is taking place in. So here we're going to use reference.filenode.name. Okay. The well, this is going to be the, we'll call this the reference change. So we have a this is awesome. It's very simple, but right, I copied code from here. That I copied, pasted it, and we had a problem because of the same variable is declared twice.
You redeclared another variable, yeah.
I did F2 to rename, and CodeRush knew just to rename these two and not the one up there. Right?
That's very nice.
Actually, even though the code won't compile, CodeRush sees that and sees this as a scope limiting kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'll keep that only to these two.
You see that parsing at work as well in things like tab to next reference. So you can tab through code even if it doesn't fully compile. So, you know, obviously uncompilable code breaks the compiler, breaks the ability to execute code, but we still work around those limitations.
All right, so here we go. Get expected namespace. Oops. And that's our expected namespace right there. And so what the code that we want to, so this will change. Instead of passing in namespace.name range, we're going to pass in reference.range, right? So that's going to take that whole reference, and then instead of calling this, I'm just going to pass in expected namespace. Well, I guess I could do that. I'd say the same thing as what I had before, isn't it? So does the file node change? This is namespace file node. Oops, this should be reference file node. Sorry, there. It should be get expected namespace for the reference. Wait, is that right? No, wait. I think I was right the first time. Namespace file node. That's what the namespace should be. Yeah, so let's do this.
Sorry, yes.
Let's put this here.
And then reference it on the right.
And do it there.
That's much nicer.
Okay, so now I'm adding those changes, and I'm going to run. And I think that this will get us closer. Oh, shoot. Not unless we get it compiled. Oh, is that the wait? That's because it's not because it's locked up here, I think.
No.
I think it's because it's locked up here. Because I started that other instance.
Oh, I see.
Studio,
That's
right?
good. That's better. We can deal with that easier.
Yeah. One. Oh, no. Wait, no. It just hasn't closed down. One. Come on, work this time. Oh, come on. One more time. Run. No! All right, fine. 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 And I'm going to run my head against the brick wall one more time. All right, fine. Yeah, I'm getting shut down. All right. Let's go in, DevExpress, about, plugins. Yeah, this bugs me.
Studio does like to lock its files occasionally.
Score can fix that for me. Find out what's going wrong and fix that. All right. Whoops. Shoot. I started without deleting the file first. We might be in trouble. Just deleted them on, nope, they're locked up. Shoot. Try to delete them. Did I close it down in time? I just close it. Try again, try again, try again. Hold on. I'll get this on screen here so you can see it. So on my other monitor. Oops, that's the wrong one. Where's the other? Oh, it locked it up in a third instance of Visual Studio. Hold on. Try again, try again, try again. There, finally, I just got it. Sorry for this not being on screen. Okay, starting up Visual Studio again. Okay, not in the history, so we'll go in File, Open, Project. And we want to go to Projects, this one. Okay. All right, so let's run it now. Let's set a breakpoint here so we can kind of go through this code and look at it. And I kind of want to refactor and break things apart here, but let's kind of see where we are. And then what I'm going to do is we'll end it with this. I just saw your tweet, Roy. That was awesome.
I know, it's bad, isn't it?
Roy just tweeted, I may have been coding too long. I just wrote a note to myself on paper and added a sideways smiley to it. Yeah. I try to hit the scroll buttons on the paper, and that doesn't work like I'm expecting.
That's a shockingly bad interface, that, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Although the whole touch interface is good. You can push the note around the desk almost as if it was a real note.
Yeah. So hold on, I've got Visual Studio on my other monitor. I'm trying to drag it across. Start page and sync test. Okay, so now we'll go back over to Ferrari and we'll make the change. Synchronize to folder names. Here we go, stepping through. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to run it, Ferrari. Should I run it or not? I'm not sure what I should do here. Yeah, let's run it and just see what we get. So there's the run. Car.sports. The only other reference to Ferrari was over, just have the next reference there.
Yeah.
But there's the problem. Right?
Yes, you're right.
Found this reference and changed it.
So you need to find all references where the next child element effectively is a reference to the type you started off on.
Yeah. There's Ferrari there. Automobile factory isn't working anymore because using cars was changed to using cars.sports.
So I wonder if you couldn't add a, rather than replace those kind of references. So determine, is it a using or is it a direct qualification? And if it's a using, you add a reference to the item and then go around cleaning up extra ones later.
You could do that, but what about the case where A1 changes to alpha 1, right? In other words, this one is wrong too.
You add alpha instead and then run optimize usings.
Yeah, but this is like just something that doesn't even exist. What happens if we do that? Let me try that. Using blah. Now, let's see what happens if I optimize using. Oh, it takes it away. All right. Okay, so yes, we could do that. Yes, call another refactoring on it. So we could do that kind of as a shortcut. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, okay, we got not too far, and I'm going to, at this point, start working offline on the gotchas and edge cases. And my intention is tomorrow at about the same time at 12 to do a wrap-up showing the fixes to the edge cases, maybe just kind of like here's the code I wrote, and then submitting it. The reason why is because I think it's going to take hours to get this fixed. That's my sense. There's a lot of edge cases here, and some careful thought's going to have to take place in terms of how do we solve this problem. I really have not even gotten to the point yet, Rory, where I've fully, comfortably got a grasp over the pseudocode for solving all of this, right? Okay. How would I solve this by hand, right? I kind of have to do that and figure it out, and then figure out how to represent those steps by hand in the computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So with that, everybody lucks out. Instead of doing a 2 or 3 hour session, we're going to do only an hour and 8 minutes, and I'm going to do some baking of the code, and I will come back tomorrow with like maybe a 30-minute show and tell. That's my hope, and so we'll have a part 2 on this. showing what we did between, and then we'll submit the code and have it working.
Excellent.
Okay, any questions before we shut this thing down?
What do we got? No questions, just a bunch of suggestions for how we might approach this, little bits and pieces.
I'll look at those for sure.
Yeah. But no, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, so it's definitely going to involve, what I'm thinking is, that one piece of code, so I'll kind of give you a preview where I'm headed, right? Find references. This piece right here, this loop, is going to take me through every single reference. My idea is, once I'm at the reference, see what the heck this thing is. What kind of reference is this? Is it this kind of reference? In which case, okay, take a note in this particular direction. That, okay, I have a reference to cars, then go through this file and see if anything, all the types in here, see if they resolve out to there. Or alternatively, probably faster, to go through all the types in cars and see if any of them are in here. Find all the references on those and see if they show up inside this piece of code in this file. If they do, and if any of them are in the root, like automobile factory, then I know I need to keep this, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the direction I'm taking the logic, okay? At which point, instead of replacing it, I will add a new using statement. That's one of the bits of logic. Here, it's the same kind of thing, or similar logic, but here what I want to do is if it's a type qualifying reference, and we can look at this inside of the expressions lab, so you can see what I'm going to be looking for here. Put the caret in there. Type reference expression, right? So if it's a type reference expression, and I parent up, and now at this point we get to another type reference expression, and that type reference expression, it resolves out to the automobile factory. If that's the case, in other words, the name of that in there, then I know, okay, I don't want to replace this because it's in the root. I'm going to leave this right where it is. Or maybe just rename this, say cars was wrong. Maybe this was C, and I want to change it to cars because that was the default namespace. Then I'll change it. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And then, but if it doesn't resolve to the middle, to the root, to a file that's located in the root, in other words, if that doesn't resolve correctly, then I will change it. So what I'll have to do when I get to that reference op to see what kind of reference it is, look, take some sort of note on it, and then decide whether I want to make the change or not. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. That's kind of the direction I'm headed.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that.
One other thing I want to show you. Let's go over here and do the same thing here. Synchronize the folder names. Let's just run it. Alpha 1, all this stuff is good. Let's see what happened over here. Qualified construction. Look at this.
Right.
Alpha 1 Bravo 2, and this, whoops, sorry. This looks like portion of Alpha 1 Bravo 2 class 2. Something is wrong. We're essentially seeing corruption. And look over here. Well, okay, actually, it's the same thing. So we're seeing this, and let's go back. So what happened? Well, when I undo, that's A.B, this is A.B2, this is A.B1. So I had all these different versions of B that essentially all needed to become alpha.bravo. Actually, this one, if I recall correctly, was class 2. Let's drill into that. Class 2, class 2 is fine. That is alpha.bravo. Okay, that one is interesting to me because that went in the direction I was not expecting it to go into. But these other two, maybe it's class 3. Let me just, maybe I was just not class 3. Yeah, there's class 3. So class 3 is in Charlie 3. So we have A.B2 changing into alpha.bravo.charlie. And this is an example of where I believe what we're seeing when we do this, the example of that problem I was talking about before, where if we now go over into that code, we essentially had two replacements on the same line of code, is what I believe is happening here.
Sure.
Okay? And so because we have two replacements, we're essentially finding two different references here, and we're trying to resolve those two references, and we're failing to resolve them. Oh, I see. No, it is making sense. See, it's alpha 1 Bravo 2, alpha 1 Bravo 2, both being replaced here. This one is probably alpha 1 Bravo 2 Charlie 3, and then again being replaced with Alpha 1, Bravo 2, Charlie 3.
Sure.
Probably the same
So really
thing.
we should only be needing to apply one of those pairs in each case.
Yeah.
To detect the duplicate requirements.
Right, so what we need to do is find any kind of duplicates that we're finding, because what's happening is, I think what we're doing is we're finding all the references here, and we're seeing that, oh, these are resolving to the same thing, and we're finding them, and what we need to do is we need to say, okay, let's find the biggest chunk that we're going to replace and replace that one instead. So I'm going to have to filter through all of the changes that we found. So there's filtering, there's logic for there's logic for the where's unqualified construction here. Well, there's logic here in the type references that I'm going to have to add, and there's also logic in here that I'm going to have to add. So those are the 3 problems that I'm going to have to solve, and I think that's going to take a few hours to do that. So I will work on those, and tomorrow I will report on that work. I'll show you the new code, the changes. I have a feeling I'm going to create a new class or two that I'm going to manage this and to manage the logic. Unless I can get this really simple, I'm going to try also to see if I can get it simple. And with that, are there any other questions or comments, things we want to talk about before we?
Well, you know, if you didn't have too much work to do, maybe we throw a code provider in, or code issue, sorry, provider. That was just the only comment.
Define the problem, yeah. We could do that.
There was a suggestion, actually, you might activate this from types rather than namespaces. That may make it easier, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know, that was the other thing, too, is I was saying, well, what if we started from Ferrari, right? And we said, well, if we start from Ferrari, then we find all the namespaces to Ferrari, and then we just update those, right?
Yeah.
We still have a problem with the with this one, because we still have to make a choice here. So that same logic is here.
And you also have the situation where there's another class in that same namespace, although I think you might just build a parallel namespace and move it into that, which might help, and then you can go around finding empty namespaces afterwards and just remove them.
Oh, I see. Right. We could do that. You're right. We could do that. So yes. So we could take that approach instead, where we make it available in the class, and we push it out everywhere. I will consider changing what we've done to do that, but I will consider it. I'm not sure if we'll do it or not.
I can see there's a logic behind both approaches, because you might just want to just blitz your project and get everything in order. And in order to do that, if you had a purely on the type version, you'd have to go around picking every type in turn. So
True.
It would be a longer approach there.
True. Okay. Amanda, you want to get us out of here?
All right. Are you sure you're done?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm done.
All right, everybody. If you've got a feature idea for CodeRush or Visual Studio, submit it to Rory at roryb@devexpress.com, or you can also tweet it, including CodeRush hashtag in your suggestion. All right, we have a whole lineup of webinars that are posted currently throughout September. We have amazing guest presenters and, of course, DevExpress product training. So check them out and register at devexpress.com/webinars. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to be doing part 2 of this at noon Pacific Standard Time with Mark and Rory. And then a quick peek into next week, Tuesday, August 2nd at 10 a.m., Julian on JavaScript using jQuery with DevExpress ASP.NET Controls Part 2. Julian and Mehul return to delve even deeper into the intricacies and gotchas of using jQuery to produce a more immersive client-side experience for your end users. This time they explore more of the possible interactions with ASPX Grid View. And then Thursday, August 4th, Pivot Grid user customizations with analytics evangelist Woody Pewitt. And in this webinar, we'll explore many of the options that end users have available to them to control the data display and aggregation. He'll also look at ways to save the end user settings so they don't have to reset up the display. So again, if you missed anything from this webinar, or you want to review any previous webinars or check out hundreds of online product tutorials, please visit us on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. Again, thanks to Mark and Rory. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for choosing DevExpress.